Welcome, listeners, to episode 62 of Cocktail Hour. I'm Andy.
I'm Rev.
And we are just excited to be back. Again, we just recorded something last night. So, yeah, we're kind of like, recording fools.
We have been. TJ's actually mentioned that. I was like, we're going to be doing a recording on next Wednesday.
Thursday.
Mm-hmm. And she says, you guys are recording all the time now. I'm like, no, not really. It just kind of seems that way. But we had three different things last week.
Yeah.
So
it's been popping. Woo!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was this week, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
All for you.
All for you guys. Absolutely. And speaking of which, this is how you can give back. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/cocktail hour. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Woohoo!
I haven't gotten anything new lately. I've been building my credits again.
Oh, I bought a book called Trumpet earlier this week. It's narrated by a Scottish woman.
Oh, nice.
It was put up on the mostly lesfic Goodreads group for the April book of the month, and it did win. It tied with Worth Every Step by K.G. McGregor.
Wow.
So Trumpet is about a famous trumpet player who dies and is revealed to be a woman who had been passing as a man. It has a wife, an adopted son, and I guess it's just about how the media and the family and stuff like that react to it. And I'm not really sure. I didn't, but I went ahead and picked it up. I'm really looking forward to reading that or listening to it. And then right now, I finished the second Game of Thrones book day before yesterday, and then I started reading or listening to Warm Bodies, which we kind of talked about last night.
Yeah, we did.
On the thing. So that was really good, too. So, yeah, I've been a listening fool.
Yeah, you sure as hell have been. I have not read or listened to the Game of Thrones, but I've watched it on television, and I really, really like it.
The first season follows the first book pretty closely. We just started watching the second season, and there are some differences between the book and what's going on the show. Oh, interesting. But it's still really good, and TJ's just enthralled. So we're going to definitely keep watching. Nice. Yeah, I don't know if you have an urge to do it. I started doing the audiobooks because those books are like 1,000 pages. I don't know how long they are. They're huge.
I know, I've heard, yeah.
Like 500 to 1,000 page long books. I know I'm not going to have time to use my eyes.
Yeah.
for that.
So you bought them through Audible and they're unabridged?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow, how many hours are they?
Between 35 and 40 each.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
the
pretty
last
long.
one I did was the second one was 37 or 38 hours, and when I bought the first one, and then I returned it right away because the narrator he's an older, I'm assuming British guy, and I just could not get into his voice. But then I went ahead and I bought it again, and now it took me a little while to get into it. The only downside is that everybody sounds like a gruff old dude. Even some of the women sound like a gruff old dude. But it's still I'm loving it. As soon as I finish, I'm almost halfway done with Warm Bodies. As soon as I'm done with that, I'll immediately start the third book.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's very awesome.
So go grab one of those for free.
Yeah, please do. Help support Cocktail Hour at the same time.
That's right.
Yep.
Because people are starting to demand more things.
Like I know, right? Got to get back, people. A little quid pro quo helps us out. Thank you.
And for those of you who are going to GCLS, look for something from Cocktail Hour in the silent auction.
That's right. We're
still working on it. It's out of stock.
We're still working on it. It's irritating the hell out of me, but we will have something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
We will have something.
And we'll be there. So
and we'll be
actually,
there.
And Andy's been putting the boots to Moody. And if Moody shows up, all of the current active hosts of Cocktail Hour and the associated venues will be at GCLS.
Yep, that's awesome. And even a past host will be at GCLS. So it's really cool. You will get to meet everybody associated, well, except for one person, Conversations at the Bar, who lives in Northern California, who will not be there. But everybody who has made a significant contribution to Cocktail Hour will be at GCLS this year, except for maybe Moody. But we're still working on her.
Yes, we're still working on her.
We've told her that she won't have to pay for one cocktail while she's there.
That's right. That's right. We will pick up her bar tab. Another reason why we need your help.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God. Really? No kidding. Hey, listen, before we get into the show any further, I think we ought to tell the listeners that we're both drinking on this episode. Yay!
Yay! And neither one of us have had much to eat today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was picking out on shelled pistachio nuts just before we started recording. I'm like, oh my God, I can't lose my shit while we're recording. I gotta eat something.
Yeah. So we're having a delicious pineapple daiquiri.
Yeah. It's a frozen drink. Now, I'm in South Florida, so it's a very nice day for a frozen drink, but as far as I know, it's pretty damn cold up in your neck of the woods, isn't it, Sharon?
It's, well, comparatively, yes. But, no, it was like 38 degrees today.
Okay.
But it's really sunny. I took my car out. I got a new old car.
I know. It's so cool.
I know. I took it out, popped the sunroofs, and was cruising around talking to Andy about what we should drink and talking to Andy through my car.
Yeah.
Which, that's really cool. That's a new thing for me. So, no, it's nice. I mean, it's almost spring-like.
Yeah, I guess so. But
it's going to snow tonight and tomorrow. But, hey.
You got to enjoy it while you can.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. It's 84 degrees here right now. I got the windows open. So, anyway, the pineapple daiquiri. It's a frozen drink. It's 2 ounces of rum or pineapple rum, a half ounce of sweetened lime juice, a half a cup of fresh or canned pineapple. Then you blend it until smooth. And I wound up having to add a little bit more ice because mine was a little too thin. So there you go. And I've already drank one, and I'm working on my second.
Awesome. Yes, I'm just beginning my first and sipping it nicely. I've got a couple pineapple chunks and a maraschino cherry for some garnish.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is, I was telling Andy before we started recording, my wife actually liked this one and wants me to make her one. I don't think that's, in the more than 2 years, good Lord, it's been almost 3 years.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, I don't think we can count it. It's been 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, I think this is the first drink that she wanted me to make for her.
Wow. Yeah, we'll have our 3-year anniversary. What, September?
Yeah, September.
Oof. Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. All right, and you have a winner to announce, I do believe.
I do. We have the winner of Lori Salzler's new book, Right Out of Nowhere, and we had a nice turnout for the drawing for that one.
Fantastic.
And the winner is Jen, who I don't know, but congratulations, Jen.
Yeah, congrats.
I sent Lori an email with your email address, so you should be hearing from her soon. So congratulations.
Oh, that's fantastic. Woo!
Yay!
I love being able to help people, win something.
I know. I love winning stuff. I'm really competitive.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's difficult to know that I can't be a winner. But I get to be a winner every recording because of you.
Aww.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way.
We get the best prize of all.
We do. And the cherry in the drink is that we get to talk to a bunch of very talented authors.
We do. Absolutely. We've got, we may as well tell them now who we've got coming up.
Oh, we're very excited.
Yeah, so next Thursday,
Yeah.
next Thursday we're having a conversation at the bar with Sarah Edridge.
Yep.
So I know that she's got a huge fan base with her Rymelian series. I think I'm saying that right. And then I know I've only read the Salbian Sisters, which I very, very much enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to talking with her. And if you have some comments that you'd like to share or some questions, I'm just going to throw the phone number out again. It's 747-224-7763. So you can give a call for her. And then in 2 weeks from tonight, we will have... You can go ahead and announce this one.
Susan Maher is coming back.
Yay, we are so excited.
We love Susan.
She came out with a book since we've spoken to her that Andy and I both fell in love with.
Oh, yeah.
And we really want to talk with her about it.
We sure do, because Sherry and I both love All That Matters. To me, that has been, so far to date, my very, very favorite novel that she's ever written. And I've given it out as holiday gifts. I mean, I just love this book. But the one we're going to talk to her about is probably my second favorite.
Mine too. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. And after I got done reading, it's called Almost Heaven. Mm-hmm. After I got done reading Almost Heaven the first time, I thought that would be my new favorite. But then just a few weeks ago, I reread All That Matters. And then immediately after that, read Almost Heaven. And All That Matters still maintains its number one spot.
It's just fan. I don't, in the community, I got to say, that's probably my top number one book of all time. Mm. It's tough because there's a lot of great stories out there. But yeah. I think it just edges out everybody else.
I don't know. I'd have to. Gosh, I don't know. Gosh,
I know it's tough, right? I mean, because there is a lot of fantastic stuff.
We were just talking about. Jay, because Jay's coming back on in August. It's going to be my early birthday present.
Yay!
So Jay's coming back on in August, and I have to say that I think that Backwards to Oregon would maybe be mine. I mean, I'd have to sit down and think about it.
What would probably be fair is I should say, okay, let's frame it this way. All That Matters is probably one of my very favorite contemporary novels.
Okay.
Yeah. If you frame it that way, then you can go back and say, okay, as far as Westerns go, I think Backwards to Oregon is one of my top 5. I don't know that I'd have to think a little bit about other Western stories I've read, because I love Renegade.
Yeah, so, I would think that Renegade might be second.
Yep. So I'd have to really sit down and think about all the elements, the key elements, and stories.
But even Renegade is so different because there's a lot of humor in it. And there's really not much humor in Backwards to Oregon.
Yeah, that's true. Unless, the only thing I can remember that was funny about Backwards to Oregon was when the little girl named the horse Measles.
Yeah, but
I think that was about it. I think that was it.
But okay, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But speaking of favorites, this is a good segue to remind everybody that we've got voting going on right now for the best of 2012. So please get over and get your votes in.
We're begging you.
Yeah, we're begging you. I'm going to put a link to Best of 2012. So we're going to put links to that in our posts regularly now, I think, and you'll probably see loads of stuff on Facebook and Google Plus too. We really want to know what you think.
And you know what? Don't put it off. Don't say, okay, I'll do it next week, or I'll do it. Just do it. Just as soon as you hear this podcast, pause our podcast, get your ass over to our site at cocktailhour.us, and go in and look at the best of a show, and then make a comment. It'll only take you a few minutes. I mean, if you've been listening on a regular basis, there's a list right there. You can see all of the shows that are up for the award, and make a comment.
Yeah, and look at it this way. Some of your favorite authors have probably been on, right?
Yeah.
So, even though they're probably not really pushing it, I bet it would probably make them feel really good to know that their show was one of your favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know, because I see things, I know that some of these authors are trolling our site, looking at comments and stuff.
We've had the U.S. House of Representatives trolling our site for crying out loud.
We have had.
Which is a really good segue. I want to mention something really quickly before I forget.
Okay.
I took a chance on Netflix original series House of Cards with Kevin Spacey just recently. And I got to tell you, I was captivated. I watched every single episode. I did it on a weekend. So I did this whole marathon. I watched every single episode. And I can't remember how many there are. I think there's 12 of them. And fantastic. If you have any interest whatsoever in politics or underhanded dealings and machinations, this is your show.
You've mentioned it several times, and for you to mention something repeatedly, and not just because you don't remember.
Yeah, you ain't right.
But because it's good, that really says something. So I do have it on my list. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really fantastic. I'm a big Kevin Spacey fan anyway. I think that guy is one of the best dramatic actors out there. He did. I mean, Robin Wright is in it. And
I like her.
Oh yeah, she does a fantastic job. The cast, I don't think they had one casting flaw in this show.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep, not one. And it doesn't hurt. The very opening sequence, the music for their theme music is fantastic, and I love that they have all these pictures of DC while they play this music.
Oh, and you're such a DC whore.
I am a DC whore. Let me tell you. I so love that city. It's like a mini Paris, and I love it. And it doesn't hurt that some of my very, very best buddies that I've made through Facebook live in or around the D.C. area. So every time I go there, it's like a little family reunion, you know? Yeah, so we all get together and do stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
That is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I imagine it would be.
Well, one day, you never know. You might join us.
Someday.
Yeah, someday. Because Moody's actually very close, too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get the show on the road so I can have dinner.
The show on the road. All right. We are going to review a fanfic story called Fetchin' Cousin Minnie. It is a Western and is written by B. Sorry. And, I'm presuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this story has been around for quite a while. I don't know when it was written. I'm not going to go back and look and see. I
think it said 2004.
Yeah, it's been around a while. There is a sequel, and then there is a short. What do they call that, Rev?
Like a vignette?
A vignette, yeah. That's also included. Now, the sequel to Fetchin' Cousin Minnie is not completed, and I think the author's been working on it now for. I'm going to put my foot out there. I think it's been a couple of years.
I'm looking at chapter 10 of the sequel, and it is 2005.
Oh, fuck me.
So I'm going to guess that it ain't going to happen.
Well, I wrote to her, I sent her a little fan email a couple of years ago and said, I really liked Fetchin' Cousin Minnie, and I know you're working on a sequel. Are you going to finish anytime soon? She's like, yeah, I'm working on it. But this is only a couple of years ago. So I don't know. We at the last minute, we weren't gonna have an author join us on this show, but at the last minute, Sherry and I were talking, and we're like, you know what? Let's just on the off chance she might join, let's send her an email. So I sent her an email late last night, but we haven't heard back from her. So it would have been nice if we could have had her on, but you never know what the future will hold. She might come on in the future. We're still trying to get Amber on too.
That's right. Yeah, from Knights of Silk and Sapphire. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And we are in talks right at the moment, and I feel confident enough to say this because she already wrote back and said she's not familiar with our show.
Who is this?
But Warrior Judge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she said she's not familiar, or she doesn't think she's familiar with our show, but she'd be happy to come on. So,
but you know what? That's great, though. I mean, the more folks that we can get on to come on the show and get exposure for the authors and for ourselves, it's a win-win.
Yeah, so we're working on her for later this summer.
Yeah,
and she is, according to Shane Curry, she is written like the best conqueror.
Yeah, like the preeminent conqueror. Yeah,
ever. Yeah. So we're very excited to and Andy, you said that you think that you've read the first one.
Yes, I think I have.
And then, and I haven't read any of them, so I'm definitely going to get on that because I keep hearing just wonderful things about it. So we'll see.
Well, that's something really to look forward to. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to look to get her on in late July, early August. We'll see. But yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. So be sure and stay tuned.
Yeah.
And, all right. Well, let's go.
All right, let's go. Would you like to do the story summary?
Well, I'm going to put something together here. I haven't thought about it. I'm really unprepared.
Well, we are recording a tad bit earlier than we normally do, listeners. So.
I know that. I wouldn't think that would throw me off, but I do feel a little discombobulated.
Oh, it's all right though. That's one of the things that some of our listeners have written in and said. One of the things they really like about our show is that they feel like they're in our living room talking to us or listening to us talk. That it's, very relaxed, very, inclusive. And so, sometimes things like, we're not necessarily wholly prepared kind of goes right along with our nice casual atmosphere.
We definitely are not a scripted show.
No, we're not. We're not. And we like it that way.
We do. And I don't want to, I don't want to do anything other than that. So,
yep.
Okay, so Fetchin' Cousin Minnie is about Sheriff Gain Sargos, who is heading off. She lives in Barden's Corner. Mm-hmm. In California. She has a ranch, and she's also the town sheriff, and she is heading out to Sacramento to pick up, as you may guess, her cousin Minnie. She's fetching cousin Minnie, going to bring her back to the ranch. And cousin Minnie used to live at the ranch, and when they were kids growing up, and they were just like the best of friends, and everybody in town has great memories of that little Spitfire cousin Minnie. While so Gain is on the stagecoach heading out to Sacramento, and also on the stage is Megan Fitzgeraldson, who and her father. And her father's a total douche. And he's taking her to Sacramento to essentially as part of a business deal with his even bigger douche friend Lendl, who is
Hendelfarb. Hendelfarb.
Yeah, Hendelfarb. Yeah, there's some really awesome names in this.
I know, right?
So while they're on the stage, Gain is sitting next to Megan, who is in between Gain and her father, and he's very abusive, and he's just a real asshole. Mm-hmm. He's smoking in the stagecoach, and Gain is pretty much lets him know, you need to knock this shit off, going so far as to shoot the guy's cigar out of his mouth.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So Gain and Megan get to be kind of close on the stage ride out, and we learn that her father is very abusive, and she's being essentially sold to Lendl, who his first wife suspiciously disappears.
Yeah, she's supposed to be a runaway.
Kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Gain is already suspicious. And then so the story is, it's a really, really long story.
Yep.
Which is great because there's so much going on that you need it to be. So the beginning of the story is Gain learning more about Megan and her situation, and Megan asking Gain to help her escape, and them coming up with a way to get Megan away from the folks that are trying to hurt her.
Yep.
And in the meantime, there's all kinds of other stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and then there's a lot of stuff after it. But that's the core of what brings the main characters together. Mm-hmm. And that was a good summary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes on, and I compared the file size. Like I pulled this up, and I pulled All That Matters up, because anybody who's read Susan Ma, her book, knows they're super fucking long.
Well, mostly her older stuff.
Yeah, her older stuff. Yeah. All That Matters came up as about 1,300 pages on this is in caliber for an EPUB, so I mean it's not actual paper pages.
Right.
And Fetchin' Cousin Minnie in the same format came up at 1,000. So
wow,
it's a big chunk of reading.
It's meaty.
I mean, it is,
but it is meaty all the way around. It's not. I mean, there are some parts of it that are very light, but it's somewhat of a dense read.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of characters
yep.
in this story, and I think that the author did a great job of giving each different character their own personality,
yep,
and
if
there was some focus on the character for any good amount of space.
Mm-hmm.
I think you did get a good feel for who that person was to some degree.
Yeah, I agree. And I got to tell you, the very first obstacle that you're going to encounter reading this story is Gaines' dialect. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult. But once you keep reading, and stick with it, because once you keep reading it and you get in a rhythm of how she speaks and you understand what she's saying, then, everything else is gravy. But initially, it's a little bit tough to get through her slang or dialect or however the hell you want to call it. But
her accent,
whatever it is, but it's oh wow. It's a little tough in the very beginning, but it is definitely worth sticking with it.
Absolutely. And I thought that it was ingenious the way that she handled that, because of the way she writes it, and she writes it phonetically.
Yep.
How Gaines speaks.
Yep.
So you really, really get that voice in your head,
uh-huh.
and it's just so wonderful. Instead of just having the words written the way the words are supposed to be spelled, and then trying to describe her thick accent, you really get the feel for it. And I thought that even though it took a little bit to get used to, it is so well worth it. I really tip my hat to the author for doing it that way.
Absolutely. I just opened up my little text-to-speech program because I listened to Cousin Minnie instead of reading it this time. Mm-hmm. And boy, I tell you what, good thing I read it a few times before the text-to-speech got to it, because, oh my God, I would not have been able to listen to it otherwise. But, I mean, for example, Gaines says, "'Tis such a miracle, ain't it?" It's just like, the way she talks is just like, holy fuck.
Here's another one. Now, I, spelled A-H, done rid me a heap of wild broncs. She uses "I'll," like for aisle, it's spelled A-H-L. So, I mean, you really get the feel for that drawl.
Yeah,
And it was really good. And I listened to the last chunk of it, the last 15% today while I was cleaning carpets, because I knew I wouldn't have time to read it. But I think, and it did a pretty good job. And maybe it's because I had read almost all of it, that I was already familiar with it. But no, I that was one of the aspects that I liked the most.
Really?
About this.
I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it really was tough for me in the very beginning, but once I got used to her, I loved it.
Yeah, it made it felt so much more authentic to me.
Yeah, like a real person, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I thought that felt really authentic about this, now this takes place in the 1860s, is so she really goes into, and we're sorry if we're calling the author a she, and the author is actually a he, because we don't know, so we're just assuming.
Yeah, we're assuming
that the author is a woman. So if you know differently, please let us know, and we apologize in advance.
Exactly.
But the author really seems to have taken some time to see the types of household items that were in use. Of course, I didn't go back and actually investigate any of this, so it could be complete and utter bullshit. But it felt like it would be real, like the way Megan makes is making clothes, and how they're storing the butter, and
or even how the stagecoach rides were changing the horses, the dust, and drawing the curtains, and
stuff I never really would have thought about.
Yep.
And the development of train routes and how that was affecting things.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, there are a lot of different little subplots.
There are.
We get there's some army guys that are coming in, and then there's this whole thing with. This story is almost a decade old. I'm sure we can probably give away some.
Yeah, this is a spoiler-filled show. We might as well just acknowledge it. There's just no way you can't have a spoiler-filled show on this one.
Well, we'll try to keep some of them down.
Oh, the hell with that! I ain't gonna try and keep nothing down. Go ahead.
I had heard about this story. I think you told me about this story at least a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And I think somebody else had too. I think Charlie had mentioned it a few times too, and but I never read it, and I'm really glad that I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was going to happen, because I think it would have. I think some of the things in regard to her dad and Lendl, I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as if I knew some of the later things that happened with them.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's just try and keep that. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I'll try, but I'm not guaranteeing nothing.
All right.
Well, and I gotta say, it really, I would not have wanted to be a woman, because back in that time period, and if the author even got 50% of it right, what a horrific time period for women.
Wow, yeah. And she really talks about like infant mortality rates.
Yep.
And honestly, in some places it almost felt a little preachy to me about the lack of women's rights and not being able to vote and stuff like that.
I don't know. I didn't feel it was preachy, but yeah, I think she brought up some of the disparities that we probably maybe have forgotten about in our modern situation where we're at now. But women were pretty much just chattel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, and that is definitely a huge theme. Really, that is the entire undercurrent of the book.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that women are the property of men and to be ruled by men, and not have anybody interfere in the family dynamic where the male runs the household, to include all female relatives, essentially.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting how Megan said, I don't remember where it was in the story, but she had mentioned again that, when men and women take their wedding vows, they honor to love, honor, and cherish, but all they're concerned about is the obey part.
Right, and how she mentions in that scene that men automatically break. They have no intention of keeping their vows.
Yep.
But the woman has to.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty insightful.
It was, yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
But there's a really, I like how the author was able to weave other characters into this story, but not bog it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you got to know about
didn't slow it down.
Right, the lieutenant on the stagecoach. They had this mysterious woman, dressed with a veil and all covered up, and her servant that was with her. It was just really fascinating.
The marshal ended up being kind of a big secondary character that really was kind of in and out, but still had a big role in it.
Yep.
And some things didn't turn out the way I thought they would either, so that was nice too.
Yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah.
Having that little surprise. But there was also, the author did really well building the tension in certain scenes where it was appropriate. For instance, it was a little. She did it so. I'm assuming it's a she, obviously. She did such an artful job of when they finally reached their destination, where Gain and the Fitzgeraldsons are all staying at the same hotel, and Gain is expecting to meet her cousin Minnie. And in the meantime, she's trying to figure out a way to help Megan escape from this oppressive situation that her father has put her in.
Possibly not just oppressive, but physically dangerous.
Yes, very physically dangerous. Because apparently her father and his best friend Lendl are extremely violent men. and especially Lyndall. I think he's worse than her father.
He's murderous.
Yeah, he's murderous. And how the author is able to build this tension because there's a deadline. Megan's only going to be in this hotel for a certain period of time because she's supposed to be Lyndall's bride in the morning. Cousin Minnie's supposed to come in that day or that afternoon, and she's got to try and figure out a way for Megan to escape. And in the meantime, there's an overwatchful father trying to make sure that Megan toes the line. She's there because he's afraid that if she, fucks up or gets away from him, that Lyndall is going to have his hide. And
he's terrified.
Oh yeah, and the marshal, he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on around here, and all of it takes place in a matter of a few hours. And the author did such a great job of putting all of this together and building this tension in this very small scene, if you will. And I got to tell you, the first time I remember reading it, I couldn't put the damn thing down. Because I'm like, how's it going to turn out? What the hell's going to happen? You're wondering how the hell Gain is going to get this all. How she's going to be able to get everything done. She's got to get done.
It's really interesting that you say that because I thought, because I love to figure everything out and then go, I had this all figured out.
Yeah.
Well, I had thought, and I'm not going to say what I thought because I bet a bunch of you who haven't read it will probably think the same thing. But I thought that there would be this thing with involving Cousin Minnie, and which it did. To some degree. But what I thought was going to happen did not happen, not even remotely close to what I think was going to happen. And it felt great to when I realized that what I thought was going to happen couldn't happen, that I was like, oh, no fucking way. How are they going to do it now? Mm. So and that it's not often that that I can stick with something so long that has so many different things going on. Yeah. And I don't know if I would have been able to stick with it if it wouldn't have been a bit surprising.
Yeah, that's true. But I really do like how there was no confusion of characters. There was no super implausible situations. It felt very grounded, very real.
Yes, Gain was a little over the top, but as far as a normal woman.
Yeah, Gain is always a little over the top, though.
Yeah, she's.
She's the Xena Uber character.
Exactly, and that's exactly who. And if you remember that that's who this is, you got no problems.
Well, exactly, and then by extension, that Megan is the Gabrielle character.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the author did a really good job of doing something really original and different, and still keeping the essence of those two. And there's even allusions to the Xena and Gabrielle thing right in the very beginning when Gain and Megan first meet. There's that I feel like I've known her forever type. There's that connection, right? That everybody who's ever read a Xena Uber automatically recognizes as, oh, this is totally a Xena Uber. That's Gabrielle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's still fun, and she could, quite frankly, she could peddle this out for publication. Because, she really could. This is, it's definitely publication worthy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there was, and there's some really good humor in here too. There's some serious scenes, to be sure, and some intense areas, where you're not quite sure what's going to happen, but there were some good funny scenes too, like when Gain and Megan and Nell and her kids are sitting around the table and they're talking about. They were talking about somebody flying through town in his new carriage with using the wrong horse.
Oh yeah.
They're laughing and Gain and Megan says something like, the children shouldn't be laughing at that. That's inappropriate. And Gain's like, we were just laughing because we were relieved.
Oh yeah, somebody didn't get hurt. Yeah, that's what.
That somebody didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, later Gain gets bucked off a horse and lands on her ass, and the kids are all laughing, and Gain shoots him a nasty look, and the kid goes, "Oh no, we're just relieved. We're relieved you weren't hurt."
That's awesome. That was pretty good.
There's a lot of there are just so many really good scenes that are all popping into my head right now.
Yeah, yeah. And I gotta feel sorry for Megan's mom. I mean, she's, she was thrust into a situation. It was an arranged marriage. Her husband is a brute and a bully. Most of her children become very much emulated their father, and there's really nothing that she could do about it. And Megan was her cherished child, and she was arranged to be married to her husband's very best friend, who is this just murderous human being that Megan's mother was sure that Lyndall had murdered his wife, who was also her best friend up until obviously she disappeared. And she was just heartsick over it, and you could almost feel that come through.
You could. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
She did a great job of writing. I think her name was Sarah. Did a great job of writing her and her distress and feelings of helplessness over having to give Megan up in the way that she did, knowing full well what was waiting for her.
Yep.
And she also did a great job of showing how the two older sons were just like their father.
Yeah, and that just was sad, really. Mm-hmm. And how they were going to cheat their mother out of an inheritance. It's just sad.
Yeah, I think that was the only part of the story that didn't get closure.
Well,
and maybe that's in the sequel.
There is more of it in the sequel, but unfortunately, the damn sequel's not finished.
Yeah, because I kept waiting to hear, because there were letters written from two different people about the mom and Megan, but we never got to that. That was, I think, the only aspect of the story that really wasn't wrapped up in this one. But it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, it didn't take away from the story that the author was telling.
Right, not at all.
Not at all. But I find it fascinating that, and because you don't want to give too much away. I find it fascinating that, as far as crisis of conscience, Sarah had no compunction about resolving the Lyndall and his former wife matter with the watch. And, I got to say, kudos to the author for doing that. Because, I think a few authors might have shied away from that. I really do. And she just plunged right into what human nature, with most of us, would probably happen.
That's right, because Megan had a lot of issues, I'm very happy to say that that while Megan had some issues about what happened and about several different areas. She obviously had a conscience, but she wasn't irrational about it. Yeah. She recognized that, I may have caused some pain for somebody in some roundabout way. Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to have to move on. Yeah. And she did. She didn't wallow in guilt that didn't really belong to her.
Exactly. And can I tell you that damn mayor and that Westminster are just fucking despicable characters. Every time they would interfere in something that was just ridiculous, whatever their take was on it, or however they interfered, I just wanted to bitch slap those two characters.
Absolutely. When Gaines heading out on the posse, that was good, because it really showed that she just didn't give a shit what he had to say.
Yeah, I love that.
But when he smacked Willie, and was calling her a horse thief, and at Gaines' keeping her away from Gaines' office. That was great. Gaines just didn't take any crap from him. But you know who I really wanted to punch in the throat?
Who?
Daniel, the owner of the mercantile.
Yeah, what a jackass.
But you know what? I think that she did really, really well at tying. I mean, the Gabrielle character, and showing how angry she could get at injustice, because she would just, and even Gain had made some comments. She got Megan calm down, and
and it also showed how resilient and resourceful.
Oh yeah,
she was. Yeah,
absolutely.
You know who I wanted to punch in the throat was Shorty.
I wanted to punch him in the throat too, on a couple of different occasions. But I just kind of took him as this stupid drunk who this stupid, horrible, abusive drunk. But it was Westminster who kept putting him up to stuff.
Yeah, that devious Westminster.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just, she did a really good job of making the devious characters really, really hateable.
Yeah, she did.
There's really no in between. I don't think there were any characters that you're like, oh, he's kind of an asshole, but
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Although I think the Mercantile, that guy was just afraid.
And that's exactly it. I mean, even though I wanted to punch him in the throat because he was a weak little piece of shit, he still wasn't a bad guy. He was just
afraid. Yeah, he was afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one thing that bothered, well, actually there were two things that kind of bothered me about the story. One was the incredible overuse of the tall beauty.
Yeah, that did come
up a lot. Beauty. There was a lot of repetition in the descriptors that probably could have been cleaned up to make it less distracting.
Yeah, true.
But in a book that's 1,000 screens long, to have that as being the biggest problem I've got, that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's not so bad, right? Exactly.
The other thing that I had a problem, and I don't feel bad about saying this because maybe it'll prep you and you won't be disappointed when you read it, is that I felt like there was a lot of build up to their physical relationship. A lot of touching and kissing and fondling and whatnot.
Caressing, yeah.
Yeah, and then when it actually came down to when they had decided they were going to consummate their relationship, it was less than Fade to Black.
It was way less than Fade to Black. Oh my God, I know, I couldn't believe it. But
it was Come to Me, My Love, the next morning.
Yeah. Oh my God. I gotta say though, thank goodness the author did such a great job of weaving a tale up until that point.
Yeah.
Because if not, I would have shut the bitch right then and there and quit reading it.
I totally believe you would be, because I like a good sex scene as much as the next person. Yep. Maybe more in some cases. But I rarely have a problem with the Fade to Black or the completely R-rated for language, or PG-13, whatever. I rarely have a problem with that, but I honestly felt a bit cheated.
Did you? I did not in this one. Just like Melissa Good stuff, she can weave such a really, really good tale. Especially, I am really, really, really enamored of her Conqueror series. Yeah. And she can weave such a good tale that I don't really miss it. I know that's kind of odd for me to say, but it's true. I don't mind the Fade to Black with her.
Yeah, and I've come to know, so when we first started doing the show, maybe the first year or so, and you were usually pretty adamant about, I gotta have some sex scenes and da-da-da. True. In context, I know we always talk about that.
Yeah, we do.
But I think you may be more lenient on that than you used to at least be willing to admit.
I think you're right. I think it has something to do with menopause. I think it does. So. When it dries your ass up, you ain't got nothing. It's just like, what the hell happened to it? Where'd it go?
No, but I did feel a little cheated, even if it had been Fade to Black, but to completely have nothing there when they had already, when the author had already been sharing some of their physical relationship with us previously.
Yeah, but it was fairly tame. It was fairly tame.
Yeah, but to have this momentous occasion that they've got the date that they're gonna consummate this relationship, and they're building up to it, and then to have it be absolutely nothing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but you're absolutely right. She weaves such a good tale up until that point that you know that you can't stop just because of that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Good thing.
No doubt. Well, that's all I had. I don't think.
That's pretty much all I got. I mean, there's just like little bits of stuff I can think of, like Nell with her missing teeth bothered me. I mean, only because the poor woman, didn't have good dental hygiene.
No, it wasn't because
because Shorty knocked her teeth out. Yeah, I get that part, but I mean, every time I see her, I think, I bet she doesn't brush either. You know what I mean? When I'm reading.
I was a little put off by the lack of bathing.
Yeah, that was kind of gross. I mean, there's little bits of things that, I mean, who knows? Back in the day, I mean, this author could have done a lot of research and found out that back in the day, most people only bathed once a month. I don't know.
I think, I mean, I do think that it was much more rare because, I mean, simply because of lack of resources and like when you're on the stage or you're traveling or camping or something like that, you may not have the ability to do that. And one of the things that Megan had mentioned kind of later in the book was that she grew up in a desert area, so there was a lot of water conservation and stuff like that. So those are definitely things that would need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, true. But still, but it only accentuated the story. Mm-hmm. But some of the things you're just like, ugh, I just shudder.
Yeah, I think those are issues that you and I have.
Yeah, I think so.
That may be a little bit more than what
your ordinary reader. Might. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But whatever.
But overall, I think it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. And I think that everybody, if they enjoy period pieces at all, or westerns especially, should dive right in and check this story out.
I agree. The only thing that I regret is that the entire time I was reading this, I never had a large chunk of time where I could just sit down and get immersed in it.
Oh, that sucks.
It did suck because I think that kind of limited my ability to enjoy it to the same degree that you did.
Because you couldn't immerse yourself in it.
Exactly. I mean, every time I started to get into it, I had to stop to, either get back to work or go to sleep so I could get up for work or, something like that. So I could only read for, just chunks at a time. And that made me a little sad.
Yeah. Well, crap. But it's worth a reread. It's got great reread value. So there you go. Sometime down the road, you can check it out again when you have some good long stretch of time.
Maybe next year.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe the author will get back with you and decide to finish up the sequel, and we can do that.
That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't it?
My new catchword, fantastic.
That's not new. You've been doing fantastic.
Well, it's a good F word. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we don't have anything to give away. Do we want to give anything away?
Nope. Except I'm getting close to getting schnockered.
All right. Me too. I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
so. Are we at about an hour?
Yeah, we are.
Awesome.
Yep. We had a very good use of time today.
We did, and I'm always nervous when it's just you and I, we don't have the author on, and we only have one thing to cover, because I'm always worried that we're not going to have enough to say about it.
Well, come on. Between the two of us, Gabby people, come on now.
That's true, and that's the other thing that everybody says when it's just the two of us, is that you talk so much more. Yeah, I do. I feel like I have to step up. No, well, you should step up all the time. What the hell?
I'm just saying.
But it also helps that you really like this story a lot.
Yeah, it helped a lot that I like this story, and it helped a lot that I probably read it about 4 times, so it's kind of deeply embedded in my brain.
Yeah, and then listeners, once you get done reading this, I'm going to also put a link to the sequel. So if you're interested, you can read it. There's 10 chapters posted for the sequel. And I mean, I haven't read it, so I don't know if it leaves you off in a spot where you'd be really pissed off or not. But
it leaves you in a spot where you want more, but I can't say as I was pissed off.
Okay, well, see, there you go. So, but yeah, so we both recommend this one. Absolutely.
Yep. And you can find it on the Academy of Bards, and you can find it on the Athenaeum as well.
Yeah. So, and I'll make sure that there's a link to at least one of those places, whichever one I happen to get to first.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Rev. That was fantastic.
Thank you, and thank you for the change in drink, because that was really yummy.
It was yummy. I like it. And just think, there's lots more in my freezer.
And I'm gonna go make some more right now.
All right. Well, let me know how the wifey poo likes it.
I will. Maybe I'll let you know. Maybe tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay then. No fade to black at your house.
Just for the listeners.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.